In late January 1959, 9 students and graduates from the Ural Polytechnic Institute set off on a winter expedition into the northern Ural Mountains. They were aiming for a Grade 3 certification, the highest level of difficulty recognized by the Soviet Union. These were not amateurs. They were seasoned hikers and skiers who meticulously documented every single step of their snowy journey. Their recovered diaries and photos show a group in high spirits, moving efficiently and maintaining strict expedition protocols. When the group failed to return by mid-February, rescue teams were deployed to the slopes of Holat-Syakhl, known to the local Mansi people as Dead Mountain. It is a brutal, high-altitude environment where temperatures frequently drop below -30 degrees Celsius. On February 26th, searchers found the group's tent half buried on the mountain slope. Their heavy coats, boots, and a fresh meal were still inside, but the side of the canvas had been slashed open from the inside out. Footprints led away from the tent toward the tree line, where the bodies were eventually discovered. Some were found in their underwear in the freezing dark. Others sustained massive internal injuries, including fractured skulls and crushed ribs, while 2 were missing their eyes and tongues. This leaves us with the profile of 9 experts who understood the mechanics of winter survival perfectly, yet chose to face a -25-degree blizzard without their boots. Early investigators looked for an external threat, theorizing the group had been ambushed by the indigenous Mansi people, or perhaps a wild animal. Local folklore and a blurry final photograph from one of the group's cameras, showing a dark humanoid shape emerging from the trees, fueled rumors of a Mansi attack, or even a Russian Yeti. However, the snow around the camp told a different story. Aside from the hikers' own footprints, the slope was pristine. There were no tracks from other humans or large animals, and none of the group's valuable supplies had been stolen. The autopsies further distanced the case from an animal attack. The massive blunt force trauma found on the bodies was internal, lacking the tooth marks or jagged lacerations associated with a predator. Since the tracks prove no one approached the tent from the outside, the force that drove the hikers into the night must be environmental or internal. Another theory suggests the hikers were the accidental victims of a secret weapons test or a falling missile, a possibility that gained traction given the era's Cold War tensions. This suspicion centered on Semyon Zolotaryev, a 37-year-old World War II veteran added to the group at the last minute. When he was found months later, he was fully dressed and carrying a camera that hadn't been listed on the group's official gear manifesto. Forensic testing later found high levels of radiation on several articles of clothing, a detail that seemed to align with reports from other hikers in the region who saw glowing orange spheres in the sky on the night of the incident. Despite these anomalies, declassified Soviet archives show no record of missile launches, military infrastructure, or test ranges in that sector of the Urals during 1959. Furthermore, the Soviet state allowed hundreds of civilian students and Mansi hunters to spend weeks traversing the site, documenting the tent and handling the bodies. This degree of public access is difficult to reconcile with the protocols of a top-secret military cordoned-off zone. While the individual details like the radiation and Zolotaryev's background remain unexplained, the open nature of the rescue operation contradicts the idea of a pre-planned military cover-up. In 2021, researchers utilized the same animation physics used to model snow in the movie Frozen to test the most widely accepted scientific explanation, a snow slab avalanche. This model shows that because the hikers had cut into the slope to pitch their tent, inadvertently created a weak point. In the middle of the night, a localized, incredibly heavy slab of packed snow sheared off and slid, instantly pinning the group under thousands of pounds of pressure. This pressure explains the crushed ribs and skulls. The survivors, trapped in the dark, slashed their way out and fled. As they froze, they likely experienced paradoxical undressing, a condition where terminal hypothermia causes the brain to feel a sensation of extreme heat, leading victims to remove their clothes just before they die. The missing soft tissue was likely a result of the bodies laying in a running stream for 3 months, leaving them entirely exposed to both water decomposition and small animal scavengers before they were found in May. The snow slab theory provides a rational sequence of events that accounts for the primary cause of death and the mechanical damage to the tent. Even with the 2021 simulation providing a plausible framework for the disaster, the case remains officially unsolved because the avalanche model cannot resolve every piece of evidence. An avalanche doesn't explain the source of the radiation found on the clothing, nor does it account for the bruised knuckles found on several hikers, injuries typically associated with a physical fight. It also leaves their behavior in question. If an avalanche had occurred, Zolotaryov would have had to be sleeping in his full winter gear with a camera around his neck. And once the initial danger passed, these experienced survivalists opted to build a snow den in a ravine rather than return to retrieve the boots and coats that were still sitting in their tent. We continue to study these gaps because they allow us to project our own theories, whether they involve secret weapons, the supernatural, or the simple, brutal unpredictability of the natural world. While the 2021 study offers a plausible physical mechanism for the tragedy, the full sequence of events on Dead Mountain remains a secret held by the 9 who never came home.